Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts podcast. We are so grateful to have each and everyone who tune in and week out to listen, learn, and grow. This show would not be possible without you, the viewers. And so we want to acknowledge you. We want to thank you for your loyalty, your participation. And I have to say, over the last month, we have had incredible entrepreneurs. We've had amazing guests. It truly is just incredible just to even know how many guests we've had. But this is because of you, the viewers. Without you, this would not be a show and it would not be possible. I do, however, have one request that you subscribe to the channel. We bring you value each and every week. We bring you amazing guests to the show. So we do request for you to subscribe to the channel, click the link below, and this will help us tremendously. My guest today is none other. He is multifaceted into the multiple disciplines, the industries he has accomplished, the success he has had. And I'm just going to share a little bio of Fong Chua. Fong Chua is a real estate investor. He's a speaker, 3 times best-selling author. Fong has helped entrepreneurs, speakers, and authors to gain how they can help in terms of the branding, marketing, and positioning to go out and speak. And this is the skill that Fong Chua truly helps entrepreneurs and highlights their visibility. And this is what he does best. Together with his partner, Jessica, they are authors of the book Make More, Work Less book series. And this series is helping entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers to gain the visibility and how they can create the multiple streams of income so that they can position themselves, have the visibility that they want, and also to create financial future. Please give a warm welcome to the inspiring Fong Chua. Fong, welcome to the show.
Hey, awesome. Thank you for having me. Excited to share and very happy to be sharing some time with you.
Absolutely. Fong, as we want to, you have a very extensive bio, very extensive the multidisciplinary that you are involved in. As we want to get to know you a little bit more, and it's always good to get to know entrepreneurs. It's always good to know their story, their backstory, especially of the success that they have garnered and what truly has been that inspiration, the tenacity that it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. So I would love for you to share with our viewers what has been the catalyst to your success. So maybe take about a few minutes sharing with us your inspiration and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, awesome. That's a very loaded question, and I'm happy to share that story with everybody here. And always glad to be able to share my experience and all that kind of stuff. So, I was born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My family's fairly traditional. They work hard. They taught us to work hard, find a good job, and be in that job for the rest of our lives, kind of thing. And I was at a crossroads between becoming an accountant or becoming an engineer. And my dad, who's an accountant, basically told me, "Don't be an accountant; it's no fun." So okay, I guess I'll be an engineer then. So got into engineering and I graduated and found a job in engineering and thought, okay, I guess this is gonna be the next 40 years of my life doing engineering and doing calculations all day and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking I was gonna be set. And then 2007, 2008 came along, and that's when the oil and gas industry completely went downhill. And being in Edmonton, Alberta, our entire economy is based on oil and gas. If it's good, everybody's happy. If it's bad, everything's bad. So I was in a company where we went from a high of 800 some employees down to 125. Everybody was being let go, and there was no work, jobs, and all that kind of stuff. And that was when my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, goes, you know what? We need to do something different. What if the entire industry of engineering is not going to work for us? What do we have to fall back on? So she picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think a lot of people out there got their start from that book. We read that book and we're like, wait a minute, how come none of this stuff was taught to us in school? How come our parents didn't tell us about this kind of stuff? And we started kind of doing a deep dive into real estate, into business. We collected that purple book series that everybody kind of has when you follow Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then we signed up for webinars, seminars, 3-day boot camps, and workshops and whatnot. And that's when we started doing some real estate stuff. We looked into doing wholesaling, lease options, all that, but buy, fix, and flips, buy and holds. And then we kind of hit this wall where okay, we know how to analyze deals, we know how to calculate certain numbers and all that kind of stuff, but we were missing one aspect of how do you actually pick up a deal? How do you actually buy a property? How do you actually go and negotiate something? And that was our missing element. Being engineers, we're very kind of closed off. We sit down, put our heads down, do calculations, and we rarely go out and socialize. We rarely go out and network. And that was the biggest element that we were missing when it comes to investing in real estate and having a business. So I remember my very first call to build even my power team, like even having a lawyer or a realtor or a property manager on our team was a big task for us. Picking up the phone, we were already shaking. Oh, okay, what if they don't want to work with us? What do I ask them? What if they do? I'm like, wait a minute. In retrospect, now we want to hire them. Of course they want to talk to us, right? So we were that nervous even to pick up the phone to find the right lawyer for our team and whatnot. So fast forward a little bit, we have a power team, but we're still missing an element of pushing us towards finding right deals, having that peace of mind that this is the right way to go and whatnot. And then we were introduced to coaching. Coaching was the one thing that we were missing. We were missing that person to guide us along, to challenge us along, for us to kind of bounce ideas off of so that we have that peace of mind that, okay, this is going to work and that this is the right path forward. Somebody who's been there, done that to share with us the unknowns that we were kind of challenged with. So then with coaching, then were able to build our real estate portfolio from 0 properties to about 23, 24 properties, over 30 some units in the span of 5, 6 years, and was able to have anywhere from what do you call it, fourplexes to condo units to apartments and all that kind of stuff. So we were kind of getting hang of that, and then I go, okay, coach, what's next? And he goes, well, why don't you start writing books? I'm like, okay, let's start writing some books. So I go, but wait a minute, what's the first part? What's the first step? And he, well, why don't you just start putting things together, and don't you do Toastmasters and all that kind of stuff? I'm like, yeah, I do Toastmasters. I was at the time I was also thinking, hey, I need to work on my speaking skills and ability to connect with people. So I was doing speeches all the time behind the scenes. And my coach then goes, well, if you're doing speeches already for Toastmasters and whatnot, why don't you just put up a whole bunch of speeches together and publish your first book? I'm like, ah, that changes everything. Makes it sound so much more easier. So we published our first book, and then within a span of 3, 4 years, we published, I think it was 4 or 5 books. To date, we have about 8 books now. And then
Richard.
moving on, we go, okay, what's next? And he goes, why don't you start doing some speaking? I'm like, okay, sure, well, let's do some speaking. And I remember him going, why don't you come speak on one of my stages? I'm like, okay, sure. How long do you want me to speak for? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? 7 minutes? And he goes, I'll give you 2 hours. I'm like, what? 2 hours? That's too long. I can't do that. And then again, he goes, well, you do Toastmasters. I'm like, yeah, that's different. I mean, when you're in Toastmasters, you could talk about anything, and people don't really need to care about what you talk about. They just kind of give you feedback on how you present it and all kind of stuff. So, and on top of that, they're not paying to listen to me speak, whereas people were paying to go to this event of his. And he goes, "Ah, you'll be fine. What do you talk about during Toastmasters?" I'm like, "Oh, I talk about real estate, mindset, business." And he goes, "Perfect. That's what I talk about. Why don't you put about all your speeches together and put a PowerPoint and there's your first 2 hour presentation." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that's how I did my first presentation in front of it was, I think the event was over 2 days and there was over 100 people there. And it was a 2 hour presentation that I had. And that kind of broke my little hump towards doing speaking. And ever since then, I've been speaking at different events, either virtually or live in Canada, in the States, and whatnot. And then in between this period of time, I was also helping other people build their real estate portfolios. I was coaching people in speaking, coaching people in book writing, and also coaching people in what else? In some business concepts and all that kind of stuff, so that they have some guidance as to how to start and whatnot. Then COVID hit, and then people were kind of closed off about going to do speaking engagements and doing this and doing that. And then I go, "Okay, coach, what's next?" He goes, "Why don't you start a podcast?" I'm like, "Okay, great, let's start a podcast." So my podcast has been on for about 5 years now. Yeah, just over 5 years, and been able to interview people from all over the world of different successes, different industries, learning from them, sharing their stories and whatnot. And because of that, I was also fortunate enough to be then asked to speak on some of their stages and some of their platforms and whatnot, which spans from being virtually speaking at in Australia and Indonesia and Nigeria and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my story and how I got to where I am today, and then meeting you.
It's incredible. Well, that is so powerful. Um, it takes a lot to, you mentioned mindset because mindset is one of the biggest. When we are first starting out, as an entrepreneur, but starting out as a business of any kind, as a startup, but then we may not be sure as to what we want to do. But it takes a lot. It takes a mindset to say, I'm going to go and after I'm going to conquer what I want to do. I want to conquer my public speaking. Like I said, you and many of us were once afraid of speaking in public. I mean, Toastmaster because it's a small, intimate group, but speaking in large conferences, seminars, it is a fear that comes in. Could you share with us the mindset initially when you are fearful? What are the strategies so the viewers listening can also adapt to if they find themselves in a situation that they are asked to do a presentation, that are asked to speak? What are some of the strategies that you've had to overcome? So can you share with us, please, as to what that is and how is it possible that they too can do it?
I think everybody has the ability to do speaking. Everybody can speak. Everybody can build up that confidence to speak in front of large groups of people and a one-on-one and all those scenarios. And what I find funny is that, uh, as you mentioned before, we all went through this process of building that confidence. I think interviewing so many people and so many people who are speakers and platform sales speakers and whatnot, if you ask them, they were introverts to begin with sometimes. They were just able to turn on the switch and start building that confidence to go out there and many cases where people think that, hey, you're an extrovert, you're so much energy, you do all this kind of stuff, you can't be an introvert. Well, honestly, I like sitting in my home, being by myself and doing what I need to do kind of thing and not socializing for a period of time because eh, deep down inside, I'm an introvert kind of thing. But for people who wants to break out of that fear and be able to be comfortable being in front of people, it's just a matter of repetition. Going out there and asking questions, going out there connecting with people who are actually doing it and asking what their experiences was, similar to right now. Me sharing about, okay, how do I break through that comfort zone or how do I break through that fear? For me, it was just saying yes and committing to it. There was a
Mhm.
few speaking engagements where I said yes so fast, I didn't even realize what I was saying yes to. So there was this one instance where They go, okay, do you want to speak on our at our event? I'm like, yes, I'll be there. I'm like, what time? I'm like, okay, no problem, I'll be there. Um, and then I said yes to all the other stuff, and then finally I asked the question, what exactly is this conference about? And they go, well, rainwater conservation. I'm like, shoot, I know nothing about rainwater conservation. I guess I'll figure it out later. So I was luckily my topic was about leadership and mindset. I was able to kind of mold that with the theme of rainwater conservation. So therefore it worked. You'll be surprised how far you can go by just saying yes and then figuring it out as you go. Nothing needs to be perfect.
Right.
Nothing needs to be polished before you actually do it. And the thing is, sometimes if it's too polished, people can't relate to you. They want to see authenticity. They want to see you
Right.
for who you are. And the other thing that I always keep in my mind is that most people who are in the audience wishes that they're speaking, wishes that they were able to be on stage. They wish that they were the person sharing their stories and all that kind of stuff. So therefore, I'm like, well, if they're the if they're thinking all that, that means that if I'm here and I'm speaking, I have an ability to share where they're not being able to share their story. So when I start thinking about that way, it's not about me. It's about the audience. About they are paying attention. They are spending their time and sharing it with me so that they can learn something or if they can get some sort of knowledge from me. And if I keep on thinking about myself, about how nervous I am, then I'm not respecting their time enough to do what I need to do. So that's one thing I keep in mind. For people who are, let's say, just starting out, well, build that confidence through networking and building relationships and all that kind of stuff. And people go, "Oh, I'm shy. I don't want to go and network." And well, the truth of the matter is, when you are in those networking rooms, everybody is so willing to share and so willing to talk that you probably don't have to say much. You just go, "Hi, my name is Fong. What do you do?" And then all of a sudden they go on this whole thing. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Interesting. Tell me more, right? So you just have to kind of keep the conversation going. But if you're an introvert and you don't want to say much, you probably don't need to. And then as you build that confidence and you get more comfortable around the people, then you start sharing more and you start building more relationships and that confidence will come. And then all of a sudden, hey, maybe you get asked to do a 10-minute presentation. Maybe you get asked to do a 30-minute presentation. And then as each step comes to you, you kind of build that confidence and build more, what do you call it? That, that ability to take the stage and share information and inspire others and motivate. So that's my recommendation. Just one step at a time. What's the worst that can happen? You get a no. Or maybe you mess up on a sentence or two. Own it. It's okay. Everybody knows that there's a growing process, so it's not that big a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect. I'm just going to share a little bit of what I used to go through. And I used to always, even like on social media, I would always make sure that if I was putting anything out, content, it had to be perfect. It had to be polished. It had to be perfect. But now, I've changed that mindset to, I'm just going to put content out. As long as I put the content out, I mean, of course, it has to, the grammar and everything has to be perfect. But as long as you put the content out, that's what matters. And even speaking, as long as you make it yours, but you're authentic. And I think people relate to that. So thank you so much for sharing that, Fong.
I want to add a little bit more to the whole video
Yes,
stuff and posting stuff online.
yes,
I
yes,
had a really, really big challenge posting stuff online. It was because I felt it had to be perfect. And I had an issue, and my coach kind of goes, "Well, what's the worst that can happen? And why don't you take on this challenge when you do this challenge?" I'm like, I don't know. Once that camera turns on and I see that red light blinking, I freeze up. I start to think too much, and it turns out I did some reading that when there's a camera on you, meant like subconsciously you have this feeling that you have to be perfect because so many people are
right,
watching and all kind of stuff.
yes,
It's called ego depletion. And as the time goes on, your you start breaking down and you start stuttering and you start messing up because you feel all this pressure. And I'm like, okay, that's what I have. That's my problem. And I told people that I self-diagnosed myself with ego depletion. And I was in this mastermind class, and I was sharing everybody, okay, you don't have to try and solve this because I have this problem. So therefore, there's nothing anybody else can say here that can solve this problem. And then one person stood up and goes, why don't you do one video a day for a year? And I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. And before I was able to reject that idea, another person in the mastermind class stood up and goes, well, if Fong does it, then I'll do it. I'm like, shoot, now there's competition. And then two other people stood up and goes, oh yeah, if they're gonna do it, we'll do it too. And
Oh, that's good.
before
I
I
mean,
was able to,
competition's good.
well, and then there's accountability. And all of a sudden, before I was able to say no to any of this stuff, the first person who challenged us took out their phone, went on Facebook Live, and goes, "Hey everybody, so we're doing this mastermind, and four of our members have just agreed to do a challenge of doing one video a day for
So
the
they
no,
put
one
you on the
video a week
spot.
for the next year. What are you going to be talking about, Fong?" And I'm like, "Oh, shoot, now I have to speak because it's live, and now I'm committed." So, okay, the four or five of us are in this competition together. We're holding each other accountable, and I'm in the airport flying back to my home, and I had a 3 hour layover, and I'm like, okay, I got to do my first video, or else I'm behind already. And that 3 hours felt like forever. I did 172 takes because I felt everything had to be perfect. I stopped and started, and all of a sudden I hear an announcement, a baby crying, all this stuff going on behind me. And I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. And that was the day when I go, you know what? I can't do 172 takes every single time. I can't spend 3 hours doing a 2 minute video every single time. So therefore, from that moment forward, I record it. I feel okay about it. I don't look at it. I don't listen to it. I post it, and that's it. So that's how I did my first few videos, and then I kept that going for a whole year, and then the podcast and all that kind of stuff. So it's it's surrounding yourself with people who could hold yourself accountable, and then also having that competition also helps too.
Absolutely. There's always, healthy competition. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got to have competition, but in a healthy way, and people who surround yourself with people who support you, who uplift you, and who believe in you. And Fong, there are times that, you may not believe in yourself, but if other people, like in your mastermind group or wherever, but if they believe in you that you have that potential, you can go a long way. So I totally agree with that. Competition, a healthy competition, and accountability. So let's diverse to you talk a lot about unlocking the potential. You help entrepreneurs to unlock the potential. What have you found is the hardest thing to unlock in spite of all the tools entrepreneurs may have? What is the hardest to unlock? And how can we overcome
I
overcome
think
the abilities, the potential we have?
I think the biggest is the mindset. We kind of talked about that before. Growing up, having a certain mindset is very difficult to change that because that's what you're used to. That's what you're comfortable with. For instance, the whole investing in certain in real estate and businesses, finances, and all kind of stuff. People grew up with a certain mindset as to what money means to them. And if you want to break through and earn more, make more, and all that kind of stuff, well, you have to have a different mindset because your current mindset got you to where you are today. And unless you break or alter that mindset, you're not going to get to the next level. So the hardest thing to get people to their next level, to their full potential, you have to break or alter what their current mindsets are. And that is one of the toughest things because sometimes we are set in our ways. We're comfortable
Mhm.
in that. And
Mhm.
until there's somebody who comes along that shows you the way, somebody that comes along that shows you, hey, you could do videos easier, or you could write a book, or you can invest in real estate by using this mindset or having that strategy, and them showing you the ins and outs, the pros and cons, the benefits, the potential paths as to okay, if you take this suggestion, this would happen, or this would happen. It's one of those things where I try and explain it to my clients, going, okay, here's the three, four, five different ways of uh, approaching this. Here's the three, four, five different outcomes that may come. Which one are you comfortable with? Which one is most likely? Which one is not likely? And if the worst thing does happen, what are you going to do about it? And then after that, when they go through that exercise, they realize, okay, the fear is not as high anymore. The risk is not as high anymore. And therefore, they're willing to take that next step to try something else. Try writing that book. Try starting a podcast. Try putting an offer out. And then as each little step is taken, all of a sudden they're willing to do another step and then another step and another step. But it's that ability to kind of paint the picture of here are the options, here are the different outcomes. What are we going to do about it? And then that mindset starts to change a little bit and it starts to grow and starts to expand. So the mindset is the toughest thing to change.
Absolutely. And as long as we have the options to be able to see, I was so essentially it's your strengths and weaknesses. Where are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And how to really help that to move forward in life in general. And I really I'm curious to know because Fong, you've had such an incredible path, incredible success. What has been the catalyst, would you say, to your success? What have been those moments in your life, or was there a moment or moments in your life where you thought, I am deserving of earning more? Was there a moment or moments in your life as you have gone through that have shaped you today?
I would say it's one of those, it's going to be a very left brain to answer for you.
Okay.
And that is sitting there doing a calculation goes, wait a minute, I need how much to retire? In order for me to survive, I need to, I remember going, okay, if I want to retire at the age of 65, and at the time I think I was 28 at the time, and I go, I need to put in 20, 30, $40,000 a year in order for me to have 1 point some million dollars by the time I'm 65 to retire off of. But then that money is going to deplete by the time I'm 90. But what if I want to live longer than 90? What happens then? And then you start going, hey, this math isn't mathing, right? I need to do something different to expand that
Right.
time
Yes.
period and increase the amount of money that I have. So having done that calculation, I quickly realized, okay, I can't rely 100% on my job. You need to diversify into either stocks, you need to diversify into real estate or whatever it is, or businesses. And then you go, okay, if this doesn't work, I have this to leverage over this.
Right.
If this doesn't
Yes.
work, I have this to leverage over that. So then now you have other paths to build that so-called retirement fund if I ever retire. And if I'm happy with what I'm doing, I mean never retire because I'm having fun making money. So so that was the moment, the moment of realizing if I follow the traditional path that everybody follows, what do I need? And
Hmm.
how possible and how hard is that going to be? And if it doesn't seem feasible, what am I going to do to change that or make it easier? And that's when we started doing all this other stuff.
Absolutely. What would you say, Fong? What has been the one conventional rule that you have that you pivoted from and you have learned to leverage on the success? You have learned to leverage on, the real estate investing. You've leveraged. What has been the one conventional rule that you can share with us that have really that you've mastered, owning your life and what it truly means to have the success that you are having?
I
And
think the saying where if you work hard, you could do
mhm,
things yourself. I've heard that before. I've heard where, okay, you don't need to build relationships. You don't need to go out and talk to people. Because like I said, I was brought up very much an introvert. My parents are introverts. I remember because I lived in this when I grew up, I lived in this cul-de-sac, and very common kids would be willing to go out and knock on doors of their friends and, hey, you want to come out and play?
right, yeah,
And my parents didn't believe that. Okay. My parents didn't believe that you should be able to go to your next door neighbor's house and knock on their door and go, "Hey, is Billy able to come out to play?" And then all that kind of stuff. They don't believe in that. They told me that if if you go out and you play and their kids and your friends see you play, and if they can come out to play, they'll come and join you. Which is that
Okay.
whole if you build it, they'll come kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
So I grew up with that mindset. But in business, in real estate, if you build it, they may not come. If you have a website and you don't tell people about it, that nobody will know it exists. If you write a book and you don't talk about it, nobody knows it's
exactly.
there,
Right. Hmm.
right? So that's one thing that completely changed my thought process because I do have to go out there and talk. I do need to go out there and share what I have and what I do and what my skill sets are, or else nobody would know about it. And that was completely different than what I was grown up to do, right? I was grown up to, okay, just focus on your own thing. You don't have to boast. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to promote yourself. People will find out. I mean, well, that's not necessarily true. So that's one thing I think lots of people need to grasp and understand is that you, if you don't go out and there and tell people about what you do, nobody would know. And I find it funny now in retrospect where when I'm working with a client and go, "Oh, I don't know, my website's not perfect yet. Once I launch it, what's gonna happen? Like all these people are gonna come like, no, not everybody's gonna notice your website if you don't talk about it, right? So you could launch it and just kind of build it and slowly tell more people, and it's not gonna happen right away. So don't worry too much about it because if you don't talk about it, nobody knows.
Exactly. You got to be seen. You got to be seen, to be heard. You got to be visible. And oftentimes, most of us, we have that mindset that, everyone's going to come to my party. Everyone's going to come and, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to, but yes, that will come, but you also have to do your part to do that. So, okay, so let's talk about your book. You and your wife, you are authors of Make More, Work Less. That is such a great title, and when we look at that, share with us where did that title come from, and what does it mean when you obviously it's a book series that you both have, you and Jessica, but where did that title come from? Make More, Work Less, because ultimately this is what we all want. We want to have that end goal in mind in our golden years when we retire. So, can you just share with us that inspiration for that book title?
Yeah, so when we were starting out, we were very open to so many different ideas as to how do we build wealth, from real estate to stocks to gold and silver, precious metals to network marketing, to using insurance and all this kind of stuff. So we were implementing and setting up different foundations of wealth in our lives. And as we were doing this, we were very excited to share with people, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing now, and people started to notice, people started to ask us, hey, tell us more about this insurance thing, or tell us more about real estate, tell us more about this. And then that conversation goes for a good 3, 4 hours each time because we have so much we want to share. And that's when my coach goes, okay, put that in the book. And once you put that in a book, then you can go, hey, read this book first. It's a good introduction to all the stuff that we do. Everything that we've said in our lives now is in this book. And if you have specific questions about whatever it is, then we'll dive deeper into that, right? So at least it kind of weeds out people who may or may not be interested in real estate or may or not be interested in gold and silver and focuses the conversation next time kind of thing. So then I'm like, okay, well, now we have this book idea. What do we call it? And I would have to contribute the name to our coach. And once our coach says, hey, do make more, work less, I'm like, that makes sense because we can make more and work less if we
Yeah,
set up all these things, right? If the insurance doesn't work, then the gold and silver is there. If the gold and silver isn't there, there's real estate. If like all this stuff, we've set it up. Yes, there's gonna be some work to kind of build everything. But once it's built, then you certain things could be kind of set it and forget it, right? If you so choose to. So therefore, you're making money in all these things or building wealth in all these things, but you're not really actively doing it. I'm like, that work makes perfect sense. And then we figured, okay, wait a minute. With regards to real estate, I have so much more I can share. And then
Mhm.
that's why we had make more work less with cash flow. So then the make more work less with cash flow really focuses on how do you kind of build a real estate portfolio and finding cash flowing properties. And then we figure, wait a minute, if I can communicate better and speak better, that also allows us to make more work less. So then our next book is like make more work less by connecting, and then make more work less with branding, and make more work less with unlocking your potential and changing your mindset. So that name kind of fit with all these other things that we were working on, and it just kind of fit naturally. So that's how that came about, and why we have so many books.
Amazing. I love that. What's the one principle in your book that people have quoted, either they've misunderstood or they've applied incorrectly? What is that one principle? Can you share with us?
One principle that most people apply incorrectly.
Yeah, or either that they apply incorrectly or they misunderstand as to what is required of them.
I guess okay. So we had this one. There's this one aspect, this one part in our first book, and I was talking about how people in general are are kind of last minute things.
Mhm.
We tend to wait till the last minute to prepare for this. We would be last minute to prepare for our speech or push it to the end before we go, okay, let's do this and make that decision. Where you could have made that decision a long time ago. And I was kind of talking about this and I say, hey, why don't we kind of plan ahead and start thinking before the last minute kind of thing. And I had somebody come up to me and was like, I don't understand that. I'm like, why wouldn't you understand that? It's fairly straightforward. And I didn't realize that this individual who came up to me is one of those like big planners. They will never wait till the last minute. So they couldn't grasp that idea that people wait till the last minute to do things. I'm like, yeah, that's not you. I'm talking to other people who are like last minute planners.
Right. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I realized that you could write a book, you could do speeches, you could do presentations and all that kind of stuff, and you're trying to connect with the general public and general people, but you're not always going to connect with some. And because lots of people feel that, hey, if we apply all this stuff, it's going to work for me, but that's not the case because everybody's different.
Everyone's
So it's
different.
not necessarily a what are they applying incorrectly, it's what are they applying that doesn't fit them, their personality, and their lifestyle, right? I can be talking about all this real estate stuff, and they go, well, let's apply it. But then real estate might not be the avenue that's best for them personality wise or lifestyle wise or characteristic wise. So that I think is one of the things that I can say where it may or may not be applied correctly because it doesn't fit everybody.
Right. Exactly. And not everyone is made to be a landlord. I mean, when I first bought my first investment property, I rented it out. Then obviously in Toronto, it's not landlord friendly. And one of my tenants, he didn't pay me for 1 year. And I had to go through the landlord tribunal board. And that in itself was very costly. But it really put a dent on, if you want to become a landlord, there's nothing wrong with being a landlord, having an investment property. But you just know that if you do want to become a landlord, you just have to just suck it up. You got to make it work. And for me, people always say to me, well, why don't you be a landlord in Alberta or Calgary, up north? But so anyway, because of that experience, I did not want to become a landlord. But just to know that, you can start off with in a small way. You don't have to go into a multifamily, but just know that it is a process. People
Yeah.
who want to get into real estate farm, what would you say? What would be the first step that they need to take to become a real estate investor? How did they start? Can you share with our viewers what did
I,
they need to do?
I would say find somebody who's already doing it and start asking them a lot of questions
Some
as
questions.
to what's their experience like? What was their very first property like? How did they build their first deal? How did they find their first deal? What are their ins and outs and failures and challenges? Ask people who's doing it right now and who are actually doing well in it. Don't ask the ones that are not doing well because they're gonna scare you away from doing it completely. So reach out, ask the people who are already doing it and doing it well about their experience and whether or not they can give you some tips and whatnot. Second thing is to build some knowledge about it, and be able to kind of analyze deals on your own time, read more books about it, so that you can actually apply the the stuff that you're reading, hearing. You could apply it to the questions you're asking the other person who's doing it, and seeing where's the gaps, right? Because you can read as much as you want, but there's always going to be something that's missing that's not there in practice. And that
Right.
is where the mentor, the coach, or the person who you're talking to will be able to fill in the gaps for you. So I think getting knowledge and having somebody you could bounce ideas off of, who's been there, who's done that, who's doing it well, is two very, very important pieces.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, you know, we talked about the mindset and what do broke people do to become wealthy? As you know, you shared your story, those moments when you shared that you were deserving of more and earning more. So what do broke people do who want to become wealthy? What are they doing that's wrong?
Um, I, I try to stay away from the word of what they're doing wrong. It's what are they looking at from a perspective that does not add to what they want is usually the case. So, for instance, investing in your future. And most people go, okay, why am I paying so much for a coach? Well, because I want to grow. I want to be able to do this and that and invest and build relationships and build a portfolio and all that kind of stuff. I say, wow, that's so expensive. I would never do that. I'm like, okay. And that's the mindset. Most people won't put more money into education or informal education. And that's one of the biggest differences. People are willing to go, okay, I'll put money into post-secondary education, university, colleges, and all that kind of stuff, but they won't go and hire a coach that would actually fast track them in
Right.
business, fast track them in whatever it is. Just imagine if you were trying to learn piano or trying to learn karate or something like that, and you're only doing that by reading books and not hiring somebody to actually teach you how to play a piano and actually sit there and show you how to do scales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of time you're going to spend reading and practicing on your own is going to completely, what do you call it, overpower how much time you need to get to the same level if you had a coach with you. Same thing with business, same thing with real estate. And that is the mindset of most people. They don't believe that they need a coach to help them get to one step to another. They figure they can do it on their own.
Right.
And the moment that you start opening up your mind to asking questions, realizing that if you pay for somebody to guide you and coach you, you actually fast track that time. Because you're gonna be giving up something, either money or time.
Hmm.
What do you want to leverage, right? How much is your time worth? If your time is worth 100, 200, $300 an hour, then maybe paying somebody to fast track that is better, right? So it's that mindset thing of what is your time worth?
It's collapsing time.
Exactly.
It is
Because
collapse.
I think that, like, if we bring it down to another level, uh what's fat like some people are going, I can learn how to bake a cake or bake muffins by reading, or you can make a phone call to your friend who's done it already. What's faster? It's probably faster for that person to tell you over the phone than you finding a recipe. And it's even faster if that friend comes over to your house and shows you and bakes with you as to how to do it. And you probably do it right away, right? Rather than doing your research. Same thing. It's that whole willing to have that coach mentor beside you to guide you along the way.
Absolutely. It's collapsing time. And also, coaches, yes, they can be expensive. It's their time, but they're going to fast track you. So it's also having the mindset of a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Because if you're a fixed mindset and you've always stayed in that way, you're unresponsive to what people say to you. You're not
Yeah.
willing to learn. And I'm only saying that because that was me. I would not be willing. I always, for the longest time, I always had a fixed mindset. People say to me, well, you got to do meditation, you got to do yoga. Well, no, I don't think I want to. And I always stayed in that mindset until when I switched my mindset to a growth mindset because I want to improve, I want to learn, I want to be good, whatever that may be. So I think that is also what I've got to learn in my life is you got to be open, you got to be responsive, you got to know, whether it doesn't matter what people say to you, you may not like it, but just listen.
Yeah, I remember when we first started out, we were paying, I think, our coach $500-600 a month
Hmm.
for a year or something like that. And people go, wow, that's so much for $500, $600 a month. Why would you do that? I'm like, well, this is something we're committed to. We believe it's going to work, and we'll see, kind of thing, right? And when you're committed to that kind of investment in yourself, you really want to make something happen. And
Hmm.
very shortly after that, when we first started, we got our first property, and our first property cash flowed $500-600 a month. So then all of a sudden,
Um,
say, hey, it's covered.
yeah.
But what's stopping us from getting the second, third, fourth, fifth
Right.
property?
Right.
Now that's all bonus,
Hmm.
right? And most people don't see past that. They see the initial investment and go, what if it doesn't work? And they're so fixated on if it doesn't work, then
Yes.
you're down $500-600 a month and you're screwed for the long period of time, kind of thing, right? But then I'm like, well, yeah, put your nose down, work hard, listen to what your coach says, and then guess what? You get your first, second, third, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's all taken care of.
Exactly. The first property is always the most difficult, but once it's cash flowing, you're building equity on the property, so then it compounds and then it becomes so much easier. But I think that is such a great advice. What would you say, Fong? People who want to buy the first investment property, what how do they go about how do they go about finding deals? Because there's so much. I mean, I'm not sure about the landscape in Calgary right now. What is the landscape in Calgary?
Oh, I'm in Edmonton,
Or
so
Edmonton, yes.
and Edmonton's usually like a year behind what Calgary's market is. It's fairly healthy. I mean,
Mhm.
like the stuff that's around my place, they got sold fairly quickly, and the entry point's not too high, so therefore it's very competitive. I would say that if anybody wants, so assuming that people have that mentor and the coach that they're already kind of talking with, and
Yeah.
assuming that have some base knowledge as to what they're actually getting themselves into. Now we're talking about, okay, what's the next step of doing real estate investing? And I would say build those relationships. Go connect with other investors. See what kind of deals they talk about. See what kind of deals that they may have or may not have, and all that kind of stuff. See how you could add value with other investors, and then also build a network of realtors and agents with you so that if they do find a deal before they put it in the market, they can talk to you first. But you have to be out there telling people, hey, I'm interested. I'm in the market to buy property. I'm in the market in investing. Because if you don't do that, people don't think of you at all. So for us, when we were building it, we had a realtor that we worked with. We made sure that yes, we may or may not want properties that's already listed. However, we've set up a few different filters and a few different searches so that we could get familiarized with that area, with that type of property, looking at what's being listed, what's coming in, what's being sold, and what are the verbiage underneath them to see, hey, maybe this is a motivated seller, and then start putting out offers. There's nothing there's nothing stopping you from learning by doing. And therefore, you could just put out an offer. You don't have to be afraid of it. If it doesn't get accepted, fine. If it doesn't get accepted and you don't want to go through with it, you can always bow out if you need to,
Mhm.
right? So it's just learning by doing. So therefore, having that realtor sending you listings, getting familiarized with that, now it's another level of education versus just reading the books because you're actually actively doing it, and then you could actively put out offers. After a while, once you start getting more comfortable, like for instance, now we put out offers without even looking at properties because we want to save our time. Lots of people out there who goes, okay, we need to invest in a property, and the first thing they think about is, okay, let's set up sometimes with the realtor, have the realtor send us a whole bunch of listings, have the realtor then book a whole bunch of showings. We're going to spend our entire day look at all these different properties. Out of those 10, 12 properties, we like two of them. We'll put out offers on two of them, only to find out that both of them are either pending or rejected. So then now you start from scratch. Well, now you wasted everybody's time. However, if I could put out offers now and it gets accepted, I could still go and do my due diligence without the competition, which saves me so much more time. Now it's a completely different story if it's not even on the market yet. And those ones will come from networking, building relationships, having a good kind of bond with your agents so that they can come to you first. If you don't have that bond, why do they come to you? Right? They might as well just list it and have competition instead.
Exactly. Build relationships, network, have that portfolio of, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, real estate lawyers who, because when you do find a deal, they can assess that deal for you. So, would you recommend initially people, when investing in a property, would you recommend that they work with a real estate agent? Or can they,
I would
how would
say
that work?
I would say first starting out, I will work with a real estate agent.
Mm,
And before how I picked my agent at the time was I interviewed I think five realtors at Starbucks, one after another, and I spent like I spent a whole morning at Starbucks meeting realtor after realtor after realtor, property what was it? Mortgage broker after mortgage broker after mortgage broker to see which one I wanted to work with.
right.
And then with regards to an agent or a realtor, you want somebody who understands investing.
Hmm.
It'd be great if they were also in property management themselves
Right.
and have some background of what do you call it? Inspections, right? Because if you're first starting out, you might want to have your first agent with that knowledge, which allows you to ask them questions. When
Right.
they start showing you properties, they could go, okay, from an inspector's point of view, you might be anticipating this challenge and this problem and this problem and this potential thing. Now you get to learn as you go through these properties. On top of
Hmm.
that, if you do have an inspector come in and your realtor is able to kind of get give you more feedback on what the inspector is looking at, then you actually learn a lot more as well. If you're working with an agent who has no properties of their own and are not interested in investing at all, but you're investing, then you're going to get so much, a lot of backlash as to how you're putting your offers in.
Hmm.
Because you don't want to buy property at market price. You're going to be giving a discounted offer or something like that because you're not going to buy it at market. You have to make money on the buy. And if the realtor is not understanding how investment works and they don't invest themselves, they feel embarrassed offering your offer. So
Hmm.
therefore, there's already a disconnect there. And
Right.
that's why I like to interview my realtors first before I go, okay, let's work with you and go and put in an offer because I don't want there to be any conflict between me and the person who's supposed to represent me, right?
Hmm.
So for people first starting out, I would recommend having that agent so that you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. As you get more experience, you might want to do stuff on your own, whatever it is, and expand. You may even start partnering up with your realtor or having your realtor as one of your deal finders and all that kind of stuff as you start expanding out. But when you first start, you have somebody to kind of bounce around with.
That's a great idea. Valuable tips. Fong, this has been such a great conversations. Truly have been appreciated to have you on. Your final question, and I always like to ask these, questions to my guests. It's about your life. So everything all the success that you've had today and the success that you've had, if tomorrow all your files were deleted, what would be the three things that you want people to take away from your knowledge?
Three things. So three kind of points of advice that I would like people to remember.
Right. I remember about, yes, about your life. Yes.
I, I I would say the very first one is don't be afraid to reach out and ask. Because
Mm,
everything that you ever want to do, everything that you ever want to achieve has been done by somebody already or has been attempted by somebody already. So by reaching out and finding those people that are doing what you want to achieve to do is the very first thing that I recommend anybody to do. That's my first one. The second one is having that positive mindset. Uh, you can waste all your energy complaining and judging and being negative when unfortunate things happen to you, but then that is energy that you've wasted and energy that you could have spent on something more positive and something that's a little bit that allows you to grow more.
yeah.
And then thirdly is surrounding yourself with the people who can actually support and be a motivation to you. If you don't have those people, it's very difficult to push that stone up by yourself because every step you take, you have people that's pushing you down two more steps below you. So making sure that you surround yourself with the right people to get you to where you want to be. However, having said that, I understand that a lot of people uh, whose closest people may be the most negative or your detractors. And therefore, you have to be able to segment in your mind what you share with which people so that you allow your mind to be supported by the people that are going to support you and not having the people who don't support you affect you.
That is so true. I mean, family and friends, you got to you got to choose what you want to share with those
Yeah.
individuals, family or friends. But absolutely, it is so true as to like you are the five people that you hang around with, and so be wise as to what you share with individuals. Fong, this has been so amazing. Where can people connect with you, so that we can support you best?
Awesome. Well, you can find me on Facebook, then LinkedIn, Fong Chua. You can find my YouTube page, which is Your Area TV. And then you can find my podcast on Spotify and all the other podcast outlets, and that is the Peak Potential Success Show.
Wonderful. And your book, Make More, Work Less.
Yeah, you can
Where's your
find
book
that on
available?
Amazon. Yeah, on Amazon, all my books are there.
Okay, amazing. Well, Fong, this has been incredible. And thank you so much to you, the viewers, for tuning in to another powerful episode with Fong Chua. He truly has been such an incredible, the multifaceted and multi-talented as to what Fong has shared with us today. But we truly appreciate your time today, and as we said, the request that we would like is for you to subscribe to the channel. In this way, we can bring more amazing guests for you and to bring valuable content. So click the link below and subscribe to the channel will mean so much to us. But in the meantime, thank you so much to each and every one for tuning in to the show. Until next time, thank you. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Fong. This has been so incredible.
Awesome. Does that fit what you were looking for?
Yes.